like to call the governing board meeting to order for the Liberty Elementary School District. Today, Tuesday, March 7th, here at the Jerry Rovey facility. Present are all 5 board members: Board Member Parks, Board Member Aguirre, Board Member Bixler, Board Member Kenyon, and myself, Michael Todd. Members, just to give a little bit of update, we had 2 cancellations of presenters, and our presenter tonight, GR Recruiting, was originally scheduled for 6:30. So they were kind enough to try to get here a little bit early, and I think GPS played havoc, as we're all aware around here. With that said, I'd like to move forward with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Board Member Aguirre, if you could please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members, our next item on the agenda is item 2.1, consideration of proposals received from consulting firms for interim superintendent search and board interviews of consulting firms' representatives. That said, tonight's presentation will be provided by GR Recruiting. And I have a little statement to read when you stand up and are ready. So, we'd like to thank you for your interest in supporting the Liberty Elementary School District and finding an interim superintendent. We now have a total of 3 companies, such as yours, who are presenting to us last night and tonight. Some factors to be considered will be the overall cost, the firm's verbal presentation, their ability to quickly identify candidates for the board to consider, the firm's proposed process, the firm's ability to support the district if the candidate for interim superintendent does not work out, as well as each panel member's overall review of the presentation. Each panel member will take notes and provide a ranking between now 1 and 3, which will be considered by the board when selecting the firm. Again, I'd like to thank our panel members, and so you're familiar with them. We have Estrella Mountain Elementary parent Kelly Zimmerman, Rainbow Valley parent Paul Jensen, Liberty Elementary parent Morgan Farr, West Star parent Sarah Brandel. We also have our support staff from Estrella, Minnie Camerata, and then the board members you heard: Brian Parks, Mark Aguirre, Paul Bixler, Chris Kenyon, and myself, Michael Todd. The process we have laid out is as follows. Each company will be allowed up to 15 minutes to present to the board. Each of our board members has submitted 2 questions. We learned last night that we do have an extra question, so there's actually 11. I will ask you all of those questions at the end of the presentation, and we anticipate this will last approximately 20 minutes. We did not ask questions of our presenters last night, so we will again not do that tonight. After this, we'll take a vote and we'll decide who the winner is after we tally up some notes and scores. So with that, we'll have a timer up on the screen to help you keep track of your 15 minutes, and we'll invite you to start.
My name's Tom Williams. I'm an associate with GR Recruiting. I do live here in the Valley, and I've got 40 years of experience in public education. I've been a superintendent in Iowa and Missouri. I've worked with Gary Ray for approximately 30 years, actually. Gary Ray is a very well-known national superintendent search consultant. He ran a firm called Ray & Associates for many years. A few years ago, he sold that firm, and now he's started GR Recruiting. And I've worked with Gary in both locations or both companies. Gary's been involved in several searches in Arizona. He lives in the Valley as well. My other associate that's here with me tonight, one of the people that will be working with me on the search if we're awarded the contract, is Denton. Denton, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in front of you. Denton Santarelli, longtime educator in the West Valley, 36 years in the Peoria Unified School District, teacher, coach, principal, over 10 years as a superintendent, retired from Peoria 4 years ago, and since then I'm doing mentoring of superintendents around the state, doing some work with school boards, and certainly just recently have been asked to see if I could add my network and expertise to the searches for GR Recruiting. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Denton. So I do have a PowerPoint. I'm going to go through it briefly, and then I'll just let you ask questions, if that's okay. Let's see, where's the... Right here? There. We are a national search firm, so we have associates all across the country. We're committed to our clients by recruiting and supporting outstanding educational leaders. And that's the thing I want to point out is that we will create a search for you that's unique for Liberty. So it's not just a standard cut and paste type of search. Trying to get this to move. This one? Okay, there we go. We're a professional, diverse organization that specializes in school executive leadership searches and support of candidates placed. Our consultants include men and women with various backgrounds in education, nonprofits, military, and private sectors. Our team has experience in using technology and virtual options to engage stakeholders. And we're familiar with Arizona and have conducted numerous successful searches. We recently did the West Meck superintendent search a year ago. Our associates have lots of experience. Like Denton, we also have other Arizona associates that will be helping with this search. They have national connections and are committed to making your search a success. And we have extensive experience in Arizona. He said we have a national associate network. We have a continual personal candidate communications which allow us to attract and maintain strong candidate interest in the position throughout the search process. We screen candidates utilizing a profile. We complete thorough, extensive background and internet investigations of top candidates using Google, Yahoo, Twitter, Facebook, and other media sources. We'll present a slate of top candidates to the board for consideration, and we'll provide candidate applications and video interviews to the board. We do criminal, civil litigation, Social Security, sex offender, motor vehicle record checks, and verification of educational degrees. And we always do that in the top 2 or 3 candidates at no additional fee. There's no surprises. Skip on that one. The process, we have board input, we develop a profile, we recruit a candidate pool, the board selects the candidates, we collaborate and finalize the search, and we have a unique strategic superintendent supports in place. We have a thorough process, we have an experienced team, we do a flexible search which is customized to Liberty Elementary School District. So board input is very important. Individual board members are interviewed individually. We determine stakeholder groups. If you want stakeholder groups involved, we can pull them together and interview them. We set timeline and finalize a process with the board. We provide promotional strategies. We determine candidate with the board, determine the compensation. The board determines that, but we help give you input and guide you. Regular board communication. And I just want to point out, this is your process, not ours. We really take pride in community engagement. We try to meet with stakeholders that you identify as key stakeholders in the community, whether they're the staff, the community, whoever you feel that you would like us to talk to help create and develop a profile. Our goal is to encourage and facilitate participation by the community in the search process and assist the board in the final selection of the next superintendent. But it is important that everybody understands that the board makes the final decision in the selection of the superintendent. So we meet with stakeholders. We can do a survey through your communication department. We can do an online survey. We can also meet with your stakeholder groups and meet with them face-to-face too. But we do develop then with the board a profile that will be used to measure each of the candidates that we would bring to you. Recruitment is aggressive with the different associates and consultants we have. We personally contact highly qualified, diverse candidates, trying to bring a good pool to you. GR Recruiting website offers an interactive and informative site, so people are constantly looking at that for openings. We advertise through professional sites and our websites. We're the only firm to utilize a candidate interactive social media app and LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Indeed, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And we commit will not recruit anybody placed for a minimum of 4 years. So if somebody's placed here, we will not try to re-recruit them to another position for 4 years. And we establish a large pool of qualified candidates. That's what we can bring to the table. The board selects the slate. We provide an objective scoring instrument. You select candidates for interviews, either 1 or 2 rounds. We review top candidate applications and videos with the board. The board deliberates and discusses and reaches consensus. We assist in the development of interview questions. We organize the interviews that leads to a finalist, and we assist the district in reaching contract agreement. So our final steps and ongoing critical support includes 2-year guarantee on the superintendent search. We'll provide a superintendent 2-year mentoring program if the board wishes to have that. And we'll build and support the new leadership team with our educational partner, K-12 Insight. That would be an add-on, but we could discuss that if you're interested in that. Why GR Recruiting is unique. We have successful experience in working in Arizona and districts across the country. Our trademark is recruiting highly qualified candidates. We have the most experienced, diverse, and aggressive team of over 50 associates across the nation. Our process is thorough and customized to meet the unique needs of your district. We have strong recruiting relationships through state and national organizations. We assign associates who will become strongly aware of your district's needs in order to coordinate your search. And our team includes diverse men and women with a wide range of accomplishments. We conduct thorough background checks of top candidates. We have a long history of placing women and individuals of color in leadership positions. And we have a proven record of aggressively recruiting a diverse pool of candidates to match our client profile. Our firm will provide the Liberty Elementary School District with a proven search process and ongoing leadership support customized to meet the needs of your district. With that, I would be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. As mentioned earlier, we have 11 questions I'll ask, and then you can answer away. First one would be, would you be able to find an executive with MBA/business and education experience?
We have in the past, and we do have candidates that are, I guess we would call non-traditional.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, how do you make sure we have a candidate that has true leadership qualities and is not a micromanager? The 3 Ps.
I think we'd want to really work on the profile, that the board would identify those key traits or conditions that they would like to see in their new superintendent. And by developing that profile, we would match all the paperwork with that profile before we brought a slate of candidates to you, and you could go through the candidates and decide that. And we designed some questions when we're interviewing them before we'd bring them to the board that would be able to answer some of those questions.
Thank you. Next question is, what is your in-state pool of candidates like for an interim position?
Well, I think we would immediately want to meet with the board president, maybe another board member or two, to talk about really a time frame for hiring someone. Would it be just to finish this year and then it might be difficult to hire somebody that would finish this year and do all of next year too. So we'd have to kind of look at that and find out exactly what the parameters of the job are. so we could present that to the candidates. We do have some in-house candidates, that we've already identified that we'd be able to at least discuss with the board.
Thank you. Next question, what do you find is the most important thing a board can do to assure success in this process?
Well, I think open communication is really important with the search team and the search consultants, and having a good relationship and a good communication system between the search consultants and the board president and whoever else he identifies as key members of that team. But the communication is really important.
Thank you. Our next question is, with whom specifically will the district work with from your organization, and what are their backgrounds?
That would be me and Gary. Gary Ray is involved in every search that we do, and since he lives here, he will be very, very involved with this search. He had a conflict today and couldn't make it tonight, otherwise he would have been here as well. Denton will also be involved in the search. The two of us will be really involved. So, and like I said, because we live here, I think you'll have great access to us if you need it. So,
Thank you. Next question is, has any previous client terminated their relationship with your firm prior to completion of the search agreement, and what was the outcome?
I'm not aware of that, so I would say not to my knowledge. Now, Gary's worked with 50 school districts a year. He might have more knowledge of that than me, but I can say no, that I'm not aware of that.
Thank you. Next question is, has your organization completed more than one search for a client? And who was that and where?
Well, I know Gary has done, I think, the Administrators Association here in Arizona more than once. I think he's done it a couple times. That's the only one I know of here in Arizona.
Next question is, what would happen in the event the interim superintendent is selected, begins working with our district, but leaves unexpectedly and doesn't fulfill the terms of the contract prior to a permanent superintendent being identified? How would your search firm fill that gap?
Well, we'd work the board and we would find somebody as quickly as we possibly could. We'd have a group of candidates that we'd have you consider before you hired the person that you did, and maybe possibly if one of those were still interested, we'd be able to move that person in to do the interim.
Thank you. Our next question is, due to our current state of affairs with our administration cabinet, we are in a time crunch. What will your search firm do to expedite finding an interim superintendent without sacrificing quality?
Well, I think we'd want to meet with the board president right away and kind of develop a timeline of what that might look like and what we could do to expedite that. We'd want to identify a profile as quickly as we could, knowing that this is a interim position, and then bring the board two or three options to look at, probably set up interviews for those 2 or 3 candidates, and hopefully the board would be able to hire one of them.
Okay. What is the role of the superintendent versus what is the role of the school board?
Well, the school board is the policy makers. The superintendent is the executive or the chief executive officer implementing the policies of the board. So they have to have a really good, close working relationship to make everything click. And sometimes that doesn't happen, and that's sometimes when superintendents leave and boards have to make a change. So, but I think it's the communication and understanding, each of them understanding their roles and knowing that the board is the final decision maker in every situation.
Final question. What would be some examples of where the school board is undermining the job of the superintendent? Well,
I would think it would be if they were not communicating properly with the superintendent. If there were issues that were being brought to the board, those should be shared with the superintendent so that he could take action on it, letting him or her know what's being done well and what's not being done well. I think really important in every situation with the new superintendent is making sure that the superintendent has a good entry plan coming into the district, that the board has a good evaluation system in place to evaluate the board or to evaluate the superintendent, and that there's ongoing communication every so often to check in. How am I doing? How is the superintendent doing on completing that action plan? Is he meeting his goals? Are there complaints that we could share with the superintendent and let him respond and know what's going on? So I think it's a communication issue, and also having some really good specific policies in place for evaluations, knowing what his job description is, knowing what the expectation is for him or her, especially the first year or the second year, so that there's no surprises. You just don't want to have any surprises.
Okay, thank you. That concludes our interview process. I'd like to thank you so much for coming tonight and for your time and that of your firm. We anticipate we'll make a decision tonight, and we'll ensure that you're informed of the outcome of the process.
Business cards on.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. For our panelists and board members, you have a scoring sheet in your binder, I believe. I would ask that you take some time now to write down some notes, score the three firms. Your top choice would be number 1, your second choice would be number 2, and your third choice would be scored number 3. Once you complete that, for our panelists, please give a copy, or please send that over to Beth here on the dais, and she will make copies for the board to review. Board members, you can also jot down notes on the scoring sheet if you would like, or if you want to have that in the book. We'll give our panel time to complete that, and then we can reconvene in, say, 15 minutes. We'll do a time check in 15 minutes to see if everything is in. We want to give everybody plenty of time to give thorough thought process to this and judge their candidates. With that, we'll just take a recess long enough for everybody to fill in the timesheet, and we'll check back in at about 7:50. Oh. These are. Oh. presented the scoring sheets of our panelists and our board members. I will give time to review, and then we'll call for a motion on item 2.2 in a few minutes.
I move that we select GR Recruiting as our search team.
I'll second.
Okay, members, we have a motion and a second to approve GR Recruiting as our search team. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to know where each of the three came from, the recommendations, where'd they come from? HYA, who recommended them? Was it administration?
Please, can you please come to the microphone?
It was a combination of legal counsel. Denise knew of a few. She knew we were in a rush, and so she recommended a couple. I think Beth knew that ASBA had a search function, and she got that one. And I just did some research in the co-op databases, but there really weren't any. So I just did some more research and put queries into a few more. So HYA, I can't remember exactly. That probably was me doing research.
Okay.
And then we had 3 more firms that, for whatever reason, didn't make it to this round. So
Understood. GR Recruiting, were they? Who recommended them?
I think that one was either me or Denise. It was probably me, just from doing calling around, doing research.
Okay, so none of these candidates were recommended by the board?
No,
Board members?
not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, when I call your name, please specify your vote. Board Member Parks.
Aye.
Board Member Aguirre.
Yes.
Board Member Bixler.
Aye.
Board Member Kenyon.
Aye.
I'm also an aye. We will show it approved 5 yeses, 0 nos to award GR Recruiting as our interim superintendent search agency. Members, next on the agenda is item 2.3, possible direction to administration and/or other action regarding interim superintendent search process.
Mr. President, I move to authorize the district level administrators and the board president to take the necessary actions to move the interim superintendent search process forward in collaboration, if as needed, with the selected counseling firm.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Rodriguez, can you please reread the motion so everybody understands it?
And do it again slowly. Is that written? I do have it written if you would like that. Okay.
If you could just read it one more time.
I move to authorize the district-level administrators and board president to take the necessary actions to move the interim superintendent search process forward in collaboration as needed with a selected consulting firm.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. When I call your name, please specify your vote. Board Member Parks.
Aye.
Board Member Aguirre.
Yes.
Board Member Bixler.
Aye.
Board Member Kenyon.
Aye.
I'm also an aye. We will show that approved unanimous. 5 yes, 0 no. Our final item on the agenda is item 3.1, the adjournment of the meeting.
Mr. President, I move we adjourn.
A second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Just prior to doing that, if I may, once again, thank everybody for their participation in this process. It's very helpful. With that, we will call for the vote. Board member?
Folders.
Oh, yeah. Board members, we also need to turn in the folders over here in the box. And if you have these that were part of executive session, please make sure these come back as well. If you don't have them with them, bring them back hopefully tomorrow to the district and get them to Athenia. Okay, with that, we'll call for the vote. Board member Parks?
Aye.
Board member Aguirre?
Yes.
Board member Bixler?
Aye.
Board member Kenyon?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. We will show we are adjourned with a 5 yes, 0 no vote.